I've pointed out the discrepancies on the electronic site that has the official enrolled version, the version that was presumably signed into law by the president. And in the table, the summary, the table of contents of the bill, it lists all the way through section 1404. But for whatever reason, in the electronic version available on congress.gov right now, it stops at section 213 of section underneath section 1344. It's as if somebody hacked into the congress.gov site and realigned certain sections of the bill to create another kind of methodology. I've seen this often. I've seen this before. And what this seems to imply is that certain aspects of this bill got lifted and got derivated into other bills. But in what is available as the electronic version, the official electronic version, is here. Section 1344 of the of section 1344, bank fraud. Whoever knowingly executes or attempts to execute a scheme or artifice, one, to defraud a financial institution, or two, to obtain any of the monies, funds, credits, assets, securities, or other property owned by or under the custody or control of a financial institution by means of false or fraudulent pretenses, representations, or promises, shall be fined not more than $1 million or imprisonment not more than 20 years, or both. Now that's what it says in this particular bill, right? The Financial Institutions Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act of 1989. And just yesterday, by the way, I'm just going to acknowledge it's 12:40 a.m. Just yesterday, I was getting dinged that somebody was placing a big hedge on a conference that's supposed to be happening in the Permian Basin in 2 months, right? And, I responded as I respond because I got this thing with the Permian Basin going all the way back to when I was a little kid, and I'm running fucking deals that I ain't got no fucking business running as a little kid. You know what I mean? But the point of the matter is that now we're at this situation where they want to have the Permian. They've moved it, and they've moved it to a conference hall named after the man who was the author of this very bill. They want to move it to a conference hall named after the author of this bill, who's from Texas, who's from San Antonio. But this bill right now online is misrepresentative of what the actual law is. The official version misrepresents what the actual law is at this time. So, in order to get what we need right now, we have to go to another version of this bill, the engrossed in the House, which, as I or the introduced into the House, which is the bill he introduced. Now, this section is in the table of contents for the final one, but the actual text isn't there. You have to go back to an earlier version. This is what it says. Section 1403, annual reports on transactions in which federal financial assistance provided. A, in general, the Secretary of the Treasury or his delegate shall submit annual reports to the Committee on Ways and Means of the House of Representatives and the Committee on Finance of the Senate on 1A, the transactions which occur during the year for which the report is made and with respect to which federal financial assistance is provided. B, the aggregate amount of federal financial assistance provided with respect to such transactions. And C, any tax benefits available by reason of such transactions. And 2, the aggregate amount of federal financial assistance provided during such year and the aggregate tax benefits utilized during such year, which are attributable to such transactions in prior years. B, definition for purposes of this section, the term federal financial assistance means any assistance to which Section 597 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 applies. Section 1404, annual study of relationship between public debt and activities of government-sponsored enterprises. A, in general, in order to better manage the bonded indebtedness of the United States, the Secretary of the Treasury shall annually conduct a study to assess the financial safety and soundness of the activities of all government-sponsored enterprises and the impact of their operations on federal borrowing. Now, after that, After that, then they start talking about information versus data and risk assessments. After that, why is this missing? Why is this missing from the official final version that you can get online? Where are those annual reports? That is a prerequisite. And is Texas an autonomous country? Is Texas a sovereign nation able to make and engage treaty relations with other countries? Or is this a situation where somebody wanted to play some little Masonic game and try to apportion a kind of quota per state based on population, because this is a census year, to cover whatever those obligations were that were set up on those weapons deals with Saudi Arabia a couple years ago? Just so you know, there was an official court proceeding engaged in Texas that is still within its appeal period in terms of the ways it's gone through the Texas and the federal district and the Supreme Court of the United States system. It challenged that. Just so you know. I think this is called due diligence, right? Or what is it called? Disclosure. We are not going to disclose. I've heard this all week. We're not going to disclose. We're not going. Is there what they're not going to disclose? That whatever the state of Texas thought it was going to leverage the case law of the people of Texas on in order to fulfill whatever deal it thinks it's hooking up in connection with the Saudi sustainability goals, that they can't do that. They failed to disclose. They can't do that. They don't have the authority. And if you accept this deal from them, it's a fraudulent deal engaged in absolute bad faith. And that will impact everything you do with it moving forward. It's kind of what happened to Obama at Davos, remember? Bad faith agreement engaged under fraudulent pretenses doesn't end up getting fulfilled. Accrues. Even if you thought you were going to flip the house, right? And then you were going to put somebody on the other side of the fence. It's still a bad faith agreement, guys. And the appeal period is still pending. It might behoove you to wait a while and tell those guys in Texas to cool their jets and that you're not interested.